Here's the Left of Lansing Monday Musing for September 1st of 2025. I'm Pat Johnston. When Dear Leader Trump was on the campaign trails in both 2016 and 2024, he always promised to have the workers' backs and that he'd restore the manufacturing glory of the past in this country. Not only that, but that wages would rise and prices would drop. Now, they were sound bites that many Americans wanted to hear, but anyone who really knew Dear Leader's past and present views on the working class understood fully that he was in this whole business to make a buck for he and his family and for the corporate authoritarians who are getting rich with him. The manufacturing sector has lost 37,000 jobs since Dear Leader returned to the White House, and manufacturing job openings have shed around 100,000 since the Trump regime took over. Compare those numbers to the 610,000 manufacturing jobs created during Joe Biden's administration, and you're quickly realizing why Dear Leader chose to fire the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, whose job it was to simply report the employment numbers. You see, in Dear Leader's mind, anyone who doesn't give Daddy what he wants to hear won't be allowed over his house anymore. It's that kind of insanity and recklessness that's leading our sluggish economy and is leading to our shrinking manufacturing sector. Dear Leader's tariff scheme is hurting the working class in a myriad of ways, including in higher prices for goods and job losses and dwindling wages. And in Michigan, we're feeling the pain of Dear Leader's economy harsher than most other states. The Michigan League for Public Policy reports that Michigan's unemployment rate of 5.3% is the fourth highest in the nation. Now, while that unemployment rate isn't dire at the moment, the numbers don't appear to be reversing anytime soon. In fact, they could get worse. Because, as the Michigan League for Public Policy notes, a higher percentage of rural Michigan counties, those who backed Dear Leader last year, are getting hammered by his economic policies. Some 54 of Michigan's 83 counties report a 6% unemployment rate or higher at this time. Oscoda County, in the northeast portion of the Mitten, has an unemployment rate of over 10%. Michigan also has a labor underutilization rate of 8.5%, which represents around 200,000 working-class Michiganders who can't find a job, yet alone find a job with decent wages and benefits. Yet MAGA Republican Congressman Jack Bergman, whose district includes Oscoda County, gladly and proudly voted for Dear Leader's MAGA murder budget this summer, which not only cuts funding for rural hospitals, but also for those relying on Medicaid since good-paying jobs aren't plentiful. Even more, MAGA Jack Bergman gladly and proudly voted to gut funding for clean energy jobs that were growing in many rural communities in Michigan. Combine that with Dear Leader's insane tariff scheme in which the rate changes to the whim of Dear Leader, or more importantly, changes on those countries he likes and dislikes, companies are now holding steady, waiting for the next shoe to drop. And while targeted and strategic tariffs are always good policy, this across-the-board and arbitrary, insane tariff scheme is hurting businesses and, of course, the working class. While I understand why some UAW leaders and members believe a 25% tariff on foreign cars and parts will help, it all gets undermined when Dear Leader gives Japan an arbitrary 15% tariff rate, giving Japanese automakers a significant advantage over American automakers. It doesn't make sense. And for all of the bloviating about creating good American jobs, Dear Leader's regime is decimating unions and union representation. He immediately fired a Biden appointee on the National Labor Relations Board, which has left the board without a quorum, and Trump and the MAGA Republican Congress aren't really working all that fast to fill the board with corporate management lackeys, but they soon will. And with Elon Musk's SpaceX and Amazon's Jeff Bezos currently arguing in federal court that the NLRB itself is unconstitutional and should be under complete presidential control, well, is it really hard to conclude where the MAGA Supreme Court will land? It won't be for the workers. And Dear Leader nullify collectively bargained contracts for 1 million federal unionized workers who now also have to face losing Medicaid coverage, by the way. Authoritarians oppose workers, and they especially oppose unionized workers who they deem a threat to their goal for complete power. That's why Hitler destroyed the union movement in Germany. Workers across the country are being hung out to dry by the Trump regime, but don't worry, we're getting a brand new ballroom in the White House where only Dear Leader and his elite oligarch friends will have only the best, leaving the rest of us in the working class fighting for the crumbs they leave behind. leftoflansing@gmail.com is the best way to reach me. Subscribe to the podcast and also subscribe to Left of Lansing on YouTube. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, the Gram, and Facebook. Take the battle to them.